Hyanwu stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution and watched the stars. His uniform was crisp and clean. His face showed nothing but calm. This was how humans had learned to act around aliens. Calm, peaceful, friendly, never threatening, never dangerous. The ship looked like a diplomatic vessel from the outside. Inside, it was something else entirely. The walls held weapons that could tear through battlecruisers. The engines could push the ship faster than any alien craft. The crew were all soldiers pretending to be diplomats, but the aliens didn't know that. They had never bothered to look closely. Nari walked up beside him. She held a datapad in her hands. Her expression was tired. She had been in meetings with the Vralthic for 16 hours straight. The Vralthic were a proud species. They had conquered 12 worlds before joining the Galactic Coalition. They believed strength was everything. They looked at humans and saw weakness. They rejected the proposal again, Nari said quietly. They say New Pyongyang belongs to them now. They say we have 48 hours to evacuate or they will evacuate it for us. Hyanwu nodded slowly. New Pyongyang was a human colony on the outer edge of explored space. 200,000 people lived there. Families, children, old people who had retired there for the quiet life. Scientists who studied the unique plant life. Teachers, farmers, regular people just trying to live. What did you tell them? Hyanwu asked. I smiled, Nari said. I bowed. I asked for more time to consult with our government. I used all the right words. All the diplomatic phrases. I acted like we were considering their generous offer to let our people leave alive. And what did they say? They laughed, Nari said. Her voice was flat. They said humans always talk and never act. They said we are soft. They said we should be grateful they are giving us any warning at all. Hyanwu looked at his reflection in the window. He had been playing this role for 5 years now. The friendly human captain, always smiling, always patient, always asking questions instead of giving orders. The aliens thought he was harmless. They thought all humans were harmless. They were wrong. How long until Admiral Taiyang arrives? Hyanwu asked. 18 hours, Nari said. The fleet is moving into position. The Vralthic think they are just merchant ships and research vessels. They are not scanning them closely, good Hyanwu said. Keep stalling. Be the frightened diplomat. Beg for more time. Make them think we are panicking.
Nari smiled.
It was not a nice smile. I can do that. On the colony of New Pyongyang, people went about their daily lives. They knew about the Vralthic demands. The colonial government had told them, but they trusted the coalition. The Galactic Coalition had rules, laws. You could not just take a colony by force. There were procedures, negotiations. The coalition would protect them. Suman worked in the engineering section of the colony. Her official job was maintaining the power systems. Her real job was very different. She walked through the maintenance tunnels below the colony. Her tools jingled on her belt. She stopped at certain junctions and made small adjustments, calibrations that would not make sense to anyone watching, changes to systems that seemed unimportant. She had been making these changes for 3 years. Ever since she arrived on New Pyongyang, every human colony had someone like her. Engineers who built things that looked civilian but could become weapons with a few adjustments. Defense systems hidden in power grids. Sensors disguised as weather stations. Weapon emplacements built into communication towers, just in case. Suman's communicator buzzed. She looked at the message. It was coded. To anyone else, it would look like a routine maintenance update. To her, it said, prepare for possible evacuation. Defense protocols on standby. She acknowledged the message and kept working in the Coalition Central Station. Representatives from 12 species gathered for their regular session. The topic of the Vralthic demands came up. Some species expressed concern. Others said it was not their business. A few pointed out that the Vralthic were powerful, and it was best not to anger them over one small human colony. No one proposed sending help. No one suggested enforcing the Coalition's own laws about territorial sovereignty. They talked and debated and scheduled more meetings to discuss the issue further. The human representative sat quietly and took notes. He thanked everyone for their concern. He said humanity appreciated the Coalition's thoughtful consideration of this difficult situation. He did not mention that humanity had stopped expecting help from the Coalition. Years ago, Admiral Taiyang sat in his command chair aboard the Indomitable. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of 300 ships. On the official Coalition tracking systems, these ships appeared as civilian vessels. Cargo haulers, colony transports, research ships. Mining vessels, they were none of those things. Each ship had been built in secret. Hidden shipyards in deep space. Resources diverted through shell companies. Technology that humanity had claimed to still be developing, but had actually perfected decades ago. For 43 years, humanity had been lying to the galaxy. Building strength while pretending to be weak? Status report, Taiyang said. All ships in position, his first officer replied. We are maintaining civilian transponder signals. The Vralthic are not scanning us. They think we are just regular traffic. Weapon systems. Armed and ready, but powered down. We can go hot in 30 seconds. Hot. Taiyang nodded. He was 60 years old. He had been in the military since before first contact with aliens. He remembered when humanity discovered they were not alone in the universe. He remembered the fear, the excitement, the hope that they would find friends among the stars. He also remembered the disappointment. The aliens were not evil. Most of them were decent enough, but they were set in their ways. They had their hierarchies, their politics, their carefully balanced power structures. They did not want disruption. They wanted stability, so humanity gave them what they wanted. Humanity played the role of the eager newcomers. The students learning from the wise elders. The peaceful species just happy to be included. But humanity had not forgotten how to fight. They had just hidden it very, very well. Send a message to the Retribution, Taiyang said. Tell Captain Heian-Wu we are ready. If the Vralthic make any hostile move, we respond immediately. Yes, sir. Taiyang looked at the display showing New Pyongyang, a green and blue world. Beautiful, peaceful, home to 200,000 humans who just wanted to live their lives. The Vralthic had 48 hours. Taiyang hoped they would be smart. He hoped they would back down. He hoped this could be resolved without violence. But he knew better. The Vralth saw kindness as weakness. They saw diplomacy as cowardice. They would push until someone pushed back, and humanity was very, very good at pushing back. The clock was counting down. The alarm woke Heian-Wu from a light sleep. He was on his feet in seconds. His heart already knew what the sound meant. His mind caught up a moment later. Report, he barked into his communicator. Vralthic fleet just dropped out of hyperspace, the officer on duty said. His voice was tight. 12 hours early. They are moving toward New Pyongyang. Captain, they are not responding to hails. Heian-Wu was running now. The bridge was only 20 seconds away, but it felt like forever. Battle stations. Get me Admiral Taiyang now. He burst onto the bridge. The main screen showed the Vralthic fleet. 30 ships. All of them military vessels. All of them had their weapons hot. How long until we can intercept? Heian-Wu demanded. 2 hours at maximum speed, the navigation officer said. Sir, they will reach the colony in 40 minutes. They needed 2 hours. The colony had 40 minutes. Taiyang's face appeared on the screen. I see them, the admiral said. We are moving, but we cannot get there in time. They broke their own deadline, Heian-Wu said. Why? Because they can, Taiyang said. His face was stone. They want to send a message. Move now. Full speed. The Retribution surged forward. The engines screamed. Around them, hundreds of ships that had been pretending to be civilian vessels suddenly accelerated. Weapon systems that were not supposed to exist came online. Shields that were too strong for civilian ships activated, but it would not be enough. Not in time. On New Pyongyang, the defense coordinator saw the Vralthic fleet approaching. She hit the colony-wide alarm. The sound echoed through every street, every home. Every building, people looked up at the sky. They saw the ships descending. Some people ran. Some people froze. Parents grabbed their children. Teachers tried to get students to shelter. Emergency services scrambled to their posts. Sumin was already moving. She ran through the maintenance tunnels. Her fingers flew over control panels. She activated every hidden defense system. Turrets rose from disguised positions. Shield generators came online. Point defense systems locked onto the incoming ships. It was not enough. The colony had defenses, but they were designed to hold off pirates, raiders, small threats. Not a full military fleet. The first Ralthic ship opened fire. The blast hit the northern residential sector. Buildings that had stood for 15 years vanished in a flash of light. Hundreds of people died instantly. Thousands more were hurt by the shockwave. The screaming started. More ships fired. They were not aiming at military targets. They were not attacking the spaceport or the communication center. They were hitting homes, schools, hospitals. They were targeting the places where people lived. It was not a battle. It was murder. Sumin watched through her security cameras. She saw a school collapse. She had friends who taught there. She had attended parent meetings in that building. There were 300 children inside. She activated the colony's weapons. The turrets fired. They hit one Vralthic ship, damaged it. Maybe killed some of the crew? It was not enough. There were too many of them. Another blast hit the medical center, the building where babies were born, where the sick were healed. It was gone. It's gone. The crater where it stood was still glowing. Sumin's hands were shaking. Her screen showed casualty estimates climbing. 10,000 dead. 20,000. The numbers kept rising in space. Haiyan-Wu watched the massacre. His ship's sensors showed everything. Every blast, every death. His crew was silent. Some were crying. Some had faces like stone. All of them felt the same rage building. 1 hour, 20 minutes, someone whispered. They were still 1 hour and 20 minutes away. Nari stood beside Haiyan-Wu. She had stopped being a diplomat. Her carefully maintained calm was gone. Her face showed everything she felt. Anger, horror, hate. They are targeting civilian sectors on purpose, she said. Her voice shook. This is not a military operation. This is genocide. Haiyan-Wu could not speak. He could only watch on New Pyongyang. People tried to run. The shelters were full. The spaceport was overwhelmed. Ships were launching as fast as they could, but there were not enough ships. Not enough time. A family huddled in their basement. Parents covered their children with their own bodies. The building above them took a direct hit. The basement held, barely, but the parents were gone. Crushed by falling debris, the children lived. For now, a teacher led a group of students through the underground tunnels. They heard explosions above them. Dust fell from the ceiling. One tunnel collapsed behind them. They kept moving. Had to keep moving. An old man sat in his garden. He had planted these flowers 30 years ago. He had lived on New Pyongyang since the colony was founded. He was too old to run, too tired. He sat among his flowers and waited for the end. It came quickly. The bombardment continued for 2 hours. By the time Haiyan-Wu's fleet arrived, the Vrolethik were pulling back. They had done what they came to do. The retribution descended toward the colony. What had been a thriving city was now ruins. Fires burned everywhere. Buildings were collapsed. Streets were cratered. The beautiful green world was scarred with black marks of destruction. Scan for survivors, Haiyan-Wu ordered. His voice sounded dead. Detecting life signs, the sensor officer said, "Multiple locations? Sir, I am reading approximately 13,000 survivors." 13,000. Out of 200,000, 187,000 people were dead. Haiyan-Wu walked through the ruins. His boots crunched on broken glass, on debris, on things he did not want to think about. Rescue teams were pulling people from collapsed buildings. Medical teams were treating the wounded. There were not enough medical teams, not enough supplies, not enough of anything. He found a playground. The swings were twisted metal. The slide was melted. Small bodies lay in the sand. He turned away. Nari found him an hour later. She had blood on her uniform. Not her blood. She'd been helping dig people out of the rubble. Survivors are recording statements, she said. The Vralthic fleet made announcements during the attack. They said this was a lesson. They said this is what happens to species that do not know their place. They said other human colonies should learn from New Pyongyang's mistake. Mistake, Haiyan Wu repeated. The word tasted like poison. The recording is being sent across the entire galaxy, Nari said. Every species will see it. Every government will know what happened here. What will they do? Haiyan Wu asked. Will the coalition act? Will they enforce their own laws? Will they protect us? They both knew the answer. Admiral Taiyang's message came through an hour later. It was audio only. His voice was calm. The kind of calm that came when someone had moved past anger into something colder. Emergency meeting in 6 hours, Taiyang said. Every human colony, every ship, every commander. We are taking a vote. Haiyan Wu knew what the vote would be about. For 43 years, humanity had played a role. They had been the friendly newcomers, the peaceful species, the ones who smiled and bowed and never made threats. That role had just ended. Sumin climbed out of the tunnels. She had stayed underground during the entire attack, keeping systems running, trying to save as many people as possible. It had not been enough. She sat on a broken wall and looked at the ruins. Her home was gone. Her friends were gone. Everything was gone. Her communicator buzzed. A coded message. This one was not about maintenance or defense protocols. This one was simple. All pretense is over. Prepare for war. Suman looked at the message for a long time. Then she started making a list. All the hidden systems in all the colonies, all the concealed weapons, all the technology humanity had been hiding, all the lies they had been telling. It was time to stop hiding. It was time to show the galaxy what humanity really was. The meeting took 5 minutes. Every human commander, every colony governor, every ship captain, they all voted the same way. There was no debate, no discussion. Just a simple question and a simple answer. Should humanity continue pretending? No. Admiral Taiyang stood before the assembled holographic images. Hundreds of faces looking at him. Waiting for orders? Ready to act? Execute Protocol Omega, he said. All of it. Every hidden system. Every concealed weapon. Every lie we have been telling. End it now. The change happened across the entire galaxy at once. On human colonies, civilian buildings opened up. What looked like water treatment plants revealed missile silos. What appeared to be power stations were actually shield generators. What everyone thought were communication towers, extended weapon turrets. Every colony had been built with hidden defenses. Now those defenses became visible in space. Thousands of ships changed. The civilian transponders shut off. Weapons came online. Military designations activated. What the galaxy thought was a small merchant fleet of 200 vessels was actually 3,000 warships. The mining stations that humanity had built in remote systems opened their hangar bays. Inside were not ore processors. They were shipyards. Massive facilities that had been building vessels in secret for decades. Research stations that supposedly studied stars and planets revealed their true purpose. They were sensor arrays, weapon testing facilities, strategic command posts. Each one was a military installation disguised as civilian science. On Earth, the human government made an announcement. For 43 years, they had been reporting their population incorrectly. There were not 4 billion humans. There were 16 billion. The numbers had been false from the very beginning. Humanity had been hiding how many of them there really were. The galaxy watched in shock. Gi Wan sat in her laboratory. For 10 years, she had published papers on agricultural systems, crop yields, soil improvement, plant genetics. The aliens thought she was a farmer, a scientist working to feed people better. She was actually a weapons designer. Her agricultural research had been real, but it was also a cover. The same genetic techniques that improved crops could create biological weapons. The same systems that studied plant growth could design viral agents. She had never made those weapons, but she knew how, and she had trained hundreds of others. Now her lab revealed its true equipment. Military-grade fabricators, weapon design software, testing facilities. She sent a message to every scientist who had trained under her. 200 messages. 200 weapons designers who the galaxy thought were civilian researchers. They all responded within the hour. They were ready. Minho walked through his trading post. Everyone knew him as a merchant. He sold goods between worlds. He moved cargo. He negotiated deals. He was friendly and harmless and knew everyone. He was actually fleet. Intelligence. Every trade route he had mapped was actually a strategic position. Every cargo manifest was coded intelligence. Every business contact was an intelligence asset. His entire merchant operation was a spy network that covered half the galaxy. He pressed a button on his desk. Across 100 worlds, other merchants received signals. People who everyone thought were traders, shopkeepers, business people, they were all intelligence officers. They had been watching, recording, learning everything about the aliens. Now they activated. Every piece of data they had gathered started flowing to human military command. Troop positions, fleet movements, defense systems, weaknesses, everything the aliens had. Never suspected that the friendly human merchants were actually spies. On Coalition Central Station, the representatives were in emergency session. The chamber was chaos. Everyone was shouting, demanding explanations, asking how humanity could have deceived them so completely. The human representative stood and walked to the center platform. He was not smiling anymore. He was not being friendly or diplomatic or careful with his words. "You want to know how we did this?" he said. His voice was cold. "You want to know how we hid all of this from you?" The chamber went quiet. "You never looked," he said. "You never checked. You assumed we were weak because we were peaceful. You thought diplomacy meant we could not fight. You saw what you wanted to see." "This is a violation of coalition law," someone shouted. "You falsified your reports. Your population. Your military strength. Everything." The human representative said, "We did. For 43 years. And do you know why?" Silence. "Because we knew," he said. "We knew that if you saw our real strength, you would fear us. You would try to limit us, control us. You would never accept us as equals. So we made you think we were harmless?" "And the Vrauthik?" another representative asked. "What are you going to do about them?" The human representative looked at the camera. He knew this was being broadcast across the galaxy. Every species would hear this. Every government would know. "We are going to end them," he said simply. The chamber erupted. Accusations of warmongering, threats of sanctions, demands for restraint. The human representative listened to it all with a blank face. Then he spoke again. 187,000 civilians are dead, he said. Children, families, old people. They were murdered while the coalition debated procedures, while you scheduled meetings, while you did nothing. "We were following proper channels," someone protested. "Your proper channels are worth 187,000 corpses," the human representative said. "The Vrauthik committed genocide, and you did nothing. So we will do something." Turned and walked out. The chamber was still shouting behind him. In Vrauthik space, the Emperor received reports about the human revelations. He laughed. So the humans had more ships than they claimed. So they had hidden weapons. It did not matter. The Vrauthik Empire controlled 17 worlds. They had fleets that had conquered systems. They had weapons that could crack planets. What could one young species do against them? His military advisors were less confident. The numbers were concerning. 3,000 human ships, industrial capacity that had been hidden for decades. Technology that might be more advanced than they had assumed. Should we prepare defenses? One advisor asked. For what? The Emperor said. For humans? The species that spent 43 years bowing and smiling? They are cowards. They will talk. They will make threats, but they will not act. They are already moving, another advisor said. Their fleet is forming up. Our scouts report they are heading toward our territory. Then we will destroy them when they arrive, the Emperor said. Send a message to the fleet. Prepare for battle. The humans want to learn why the Vralthic are feared. We will teach them. The Emperor had made a mistake, a fatal one. He thought humanity's years of diplomacy meant they were afraid of war. He thought their patience meant they were weak. He thought their kindness meant they did not know how to hate. He was wrong on all counts, Admiral. Taiyang stood on the bridge of the Indomitable. Around him, 3,000 ships moved in perfect formation. This was not the human fleet's full strength. More ships were being revealed every hour. More weapons coming online. But 3,000 was enough for what needed to be done. All ships report ready, his first officer said. Status on weapon systems? Armed and ready. Kinetic systems are loaded. Missiles are hot. Energy weapons are charged. Experimental systems are standing by. Taiyang nodded. The experimental systems. The weapons that humanity had designed but never used. The ones that broke every convention of warfare the Coalition had established. The ones that were considered too cruel, too destructive, too dangerous. The humans had agreed to those conventions. They had signed the treaties. They had promised not to develop such weapons. They had lied. Send a message to the Vralthic Empire, Taiyang said. One word. 3 days, sir. They will understand, Taiyang said. 3 days until we arrive at their homeworld. 3 days to evacuate their civilians if they want. 3 days to prepare their defenses. We will give them the warning they did not give us. The message was sent. The fleet began its jump to hyperspace. Haiyan Wu stood in the ruins of New Pyongyang one last time. He had found his sister's house, or what was left of it. There was nothing to recover, nothing to bury. Just ash and debris. His sister had 2 children, a boy and a girl, 6 and 8 years old. They were going to visit him next month. He had promised to take them to see the rings of Saturn, show them Earth, let them meet his crew. Now they were gone. Everything was gone. He placed a marker in the rubble. Just a simple piece of metal with 3 names. His sister, his niece, his nephew. There would be proper memorials later. But for now, this was enough. Captain Nari said softly. The fleet is moving. We need to go. Haiyan Wu stood. He looked at the ruins one last time. Then he turned toward his ship. Let's end this. The human fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 3 days after the message. Not 3 days and 1 hour. Not 2 days and 23 hours. Exactly 3 days, the Vralthic had prepared. Their homeworld was surrounded by defense stations. Hundreds of them. Each one bristled with weapons. Their fleet was positioned in layers. Thousands of ships ready to defend their capital. They were confident. The humans had numbers, but the Vralthic had experience. They had fought wars for centuries. They knew battle. What did humans know? They had spent 43 years pretending to be peaceful. How much could they really have learned about war? Admiral Taiyang looked at the displays showing the Vralthic defenses. Impressive, well-organized, strong. Under normal circumstances, attacking this would be costly. Many ships would be lost. Victory would be difficult, but humanity was not fighting under normal circumstances. All ships, Taiyang said calmly. Execute Omega Strike. The human fleet did not slow down. They came out of hyperspace at full speed, moving faster than the Vralthic had expected, moving with precision that should not have been possible for such a large formation. The first wave of human ships fired, but they did not fire energy weapons. They fired metal. Simple metal rods, tungsten, dense and heavy, accelerated to 30% of light speed. The Vralthic shields were designed to stop energy weapons. Lasers, plasma, all the standard weapons of space warfare. They had never been designed to stop solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. The tungsten rods punched through the shields like they were not there. Each rod hit with the force of a nuclear weapon. Defense stations vanished, just ceased to exist. 1 second, they were there. The next, they were expanding clouds of debris. The Vralthic fleet tried to respond. Their weapons fired. Energy beams lanced out toward the human ships. But the human shields held. Because the human shields were not standard coalition designs, they were something humanity had developed in secret. Something better. A second wave, Taiyang ordered. Deploy the swarm. Thousands of small objects launched from the human ships. They looked like missiles at first, but they did not explode. They spread out. Each one released thousands of tiny machines, nanites, self-replicating, programmed to seek out, metal and break molecular bonds. The nanites reached the Vralthic ships. They landed on hulls, stuck to armor, and began eating. Metal turned to powder. Armor plating developed holes. Structural supports weakened. Ships began falling apart, not from explosions, just from their own mass pulling them apart as the nanites destroyed what held them. Together, the Vralthic had never seen weapons like this. Their military doctrine had no defense against this. They tried to shoot the nanites. Impossible. Too small. Too many. They tried to run. But their ships were already compromised. Engines failed. Hulls breached. Ships died without a single energy weapon being fired at them. Third wave, Taiyang said. Electronic warfare. Borum had been waiting for this moment. She was not on any military ship. She sat in a comfortable chair on a civilian station. She looked like a programmer. A civilian technician? She had published papers on network security, given lectures at universities, helped alien species improve their computer systems. She was actually a cyber warfare specialist for years. She had been installing backdoors, hidden code and software that humans had sold to the Vralthic. Updates that looked normal but contained sleeping viruses. Helpful patches that had extra functions. The Vralthic had invited human experts to help improve their systems. They had let those experts access everything, Borum. Activated every backdoor at once. Vralthic ship computers went dark. Navigation systems failed. Weapons targeting became random. Communication between ships stopped. Some ships started firing on their own fleet because their identification systems had been corrupted. Others just drifted. Dead in space with crews still alive inside. Unable to fight. Unable to flee. Just waiting. The Vralthic defense collapsed in 16 hours. Not because the humans had bigger weapons, but because the humans had different weapons. Weapons the Vralthic had never considered. Weapons that broke all the accepted rules of warfare. The human fleet moved toward the Vralthic homeworld. The planet itself was not targeted. Only military installations. Only weapon platforms. Only ships. Every orbital defense station was systematically destroyed. Every military shipyard was disabled. Every weapon satellite was eliminated. Haiyan Wu led a strike team to the command station, where the order for New Pyongyang's destruction had originated. His ship matched velocity with the slowly tumbling station. Its defenses were already offline. Its weapons were dead. Its shields were gone. He sent a message to the station. 5 minutes. Everyone had 5 minutes to evacuate. There were escape pods. They could use them. 5 minutes. Some of the Vralthic evacuated. Some did not. Maybe they were brave. Maybe they were stubborn. Maybe they thought the humans were bluffing. 5 minutes passed. Haiyan Wu fired. The station vaporized. A weapon that released energy in a way that turned matter directly to plasma. The station, and everyone still on it, became light and heat and nothing else. Haiyan Wu felt nothing. He had expected to feel satisfaction, revenge, something, but there was only emptiness. Killing the people who had ordered the massacre did not bring anyone back. It just meant they were dead too. The battle for the Vralthic homeworld was over in 24 hours. The human fleet began moving to the other Vralthic worlds. The pattern repeated. Military targets only, 5-minute warnings. Then destruction, precise, methodical, unstoppable. The Vralthic fleet tried to mount a defense at their third colony. They rallied their forces, brought in reserves from other systems, made a stand. It did not matter. The human weapons were too different, too advanced, too devastating. The Vralthic shields could not stop tungsten rods. Their hulls could not resist nanites. Their computers were compromised. They died in thousands. Their ships became debris. Their stations became scrap. After the Fourth World fell, the Vralthic government sent a surrender request. The Emperor himself appeared on screen. He was not laughing anymore. He looked old, tired, defeated. "We surrender," he said. "We will accept any terms. Just stop, please." Admiral Taiyong listened to the message. He thought about it for exactly 10 seconds. Then he responded, "No." "What?" The Emperor's voice cracked. "We surrender. The war is over. You won. What more do you want?" "We want you to understand," Taiyong said. "You killed 187,000 civilians. You massacred children. You did it to send a message. To show humanity its place? Did you think there would be no response?" "We will pay reparations," the Emperor said. "We will give you territory, resources, anything." "We do not accept surrenders from genocidal regimes," Taiyong said. "You do not get to murder our people and then buy your way out." "Then what do you want?" "Your empire is over," Taiyang said simply. "All of it." The human fleet continued its advance. Every Vralthic military installation was destroyed. Every warship, every weapon platform, every orbital defense. Everything that could be used to threaten anyone was eliminated, but the civilian populations were left untouched. Human forces did not bomb cities, did not target homes, did not kill non-combatants. They destroyed the Vralthic's ability to make war. Nothing more. On the 12th world, Nari coordinated with the local alien species that the Vralthic had conquered decades ago. These species had lived under Vralthic rule, forced to serve, denied freedom. Now human forces offered them a choice. "The Vralthic Empire is falling," Nari said. "You can be free. These worlds can be yours. We will help you build governments, defenses, independence. The galaxy will recognize your sovereignty." The former slaves looked at her with suspicion. "Why?" one asked. "Why would you help us?" "Because someone should have helped us," Nari said. "Because the coalition did nothing when we needed them. Because we know what it is like to be abandoned. We will not do that to youth." Words spread through Vralthic territory, liberation, freedom. The species that had suffered under Vralthic rule rose up. Not in violence. The humans had already destroyed the military, but in reclamation, taking back their worlds, building new governments. Celebrating their freedom after 68 hours, the Vralthic government sued for peace again. This time, they did not ask for mercy. They just asked for terms. The terms were simple. The Vralthic Empire was dissolved. The 17 worlds would become independent. The former subject species would govern themselves. The Vralthic homeworld could keep its government, but its military was limited to system defense only. No fleets, no weapons that could threaten other worlds. The restriction would last 200 years. Every Vralthic officer who had participated in the new Pyongyang massacre was identified. The humans had the communications records, the orders, the names. Each officer was arrested, tried by an independent tribunal that included judges from multiple species. Those found guilty were executed. The Vralthic had no choice but to accept. Their fleet was gone. Their defenses were destroyed. They had no leverage, no options. They signed the treaty. Admiral Taiyong stood on his bridge and watched the treaty signing. He felt tired, old. The war was won. Justice was served. But it did not feel like victory. It just felt like the killing was finally over. "Message from Earth," his first officer said. The Coalition has called an emergency session. They want to discuss humanity's actions. The Coalition Central Station was in chaos. Every species had representatives shouting. Some demanded humanity be expelled. Others wanted sanctions. A few called for military action against humanity. The younger species stayed quiet, watching, listening, calculating. Admiral Tai Yang walked into the chamber. He wore his uniform, clean and pressed. No weapons, no guards, just him. He walked to the center platform where everyone could see him. The chamber went silent. "You asked me to come," Tai Yang said. "I am here." "What do you want to know?" "You destroyed an entire empire," one representative said. The voice was shaking, angry. "You used weapons that are banned by Coalition law. You ignored our authority. You acted like you are above the rules." "We are not above the rules," Tai Yang said calmly. "We just stop pretending the rules matter when no one enforces them." "The Coalition has processes," another representative said. "Procedures. We were addressing the Vralthic situation through proper channels." "You scheduled a meeting," Tai Yang said. 187,000 civilians died while you scheduled a meeting. How many more meetings would you have needed? How many more weeks of debate? How many more of our people would have died while you followed procedures? "That does not give you the right to take unilateral action," someone shouted. "You are right," Tai Yang said. "It does not. But we did it anyway. Because we learned something in the past 43 years. We learned that the Coalition protects the powerful. You enforce rules that maintain order, but you do not protect the weak. You do not stand against genocide. Not when it is inconvenient. Not when it costs you politically." "That is not fair," a representative protested. "Fair?" Tai Yang's voice was cold. "You want to talk about fair? Where were you when the Vralthic were bombing schools? Where was Coalition justice when children were being murdered? You were in this chamber, debating, discussing, waiting for consensus. While people died, the chamber was silent. We hid our strength for 43 years, Tai Yang continued. We lied about our numbers, our weapons, our capabilities. Do you want to know why? Because we knew how you would react. We knew you would fear us, try to control us, limit us. You accept violence from species you consider strong, but you demand weakness from newcomers. That is your real rule. Stay weak, or we will make you weak. We have maintained galactic peace for thousands of years, one of the older representatives said. The system works. The system works for you, Tai Yang said. For the strong, for the established powers, it does not work for the weak. For the new, for the threatened, your peace is built on everyone accepting their place. We refuse to accept ours. So what happens now? Someone asked. You have your revenge. You destroyed the Vralthic. What is stopping you from doing the same to us? Nothing, Tai Yang said. The word hung in the air. Absolutely nothing. We could take any of your worlds. We have the weapons, the ships, the strength. You know it now. We all know it. Fear rippled through the chamber. Some representatives stood, ready to leave, ready to call their fleets, ready to prepare for war. But we will not, Tai Yang said, because we are not the Vralthic. We did not hide our strength so we could conquer. We hid it so we could survive, so we could protect ourselves, so that when the moment came and no one else would help us, we could help ourselves. He looked around the chamber, at all the faces, all the species, some hostile, some frightened, some curious. You're giving the coalition a choice, Tai Yang said. You can continue as you have been, following your procedures, protecting your interests, ignoring violence when it is inconvenient to address. Or you can change. You can make the rules mean something. You can protect all species equally, not just the powerful. And if we refuse, someone asked, then humanity leaves the coalition, Tai Yang said. We will take our worlds, our ships, our strength, and we will protect ourselves. We will also protect any species that asks for our help. Whether you approve or not, whether it is convenient or not, whether it follows your procedures or not, that is a threat, a representative said. No, Taiyang said. It is a promise. We will not allow another new Pyongyang. Not for us. Not for anyone. We have the strength now. We proved it. The question is whether the coalition will use its strength for the same purpose, or if you will keep pretending that procedures matter more than lives. He pulled out a datapad. These are humanity's terms for continued membership. Read them. Discuss them. Vote on them. You have 3 days. He set the pad down and turned to leave. Wait, someone called. What are the terms? Taiyang stopped. First, any attack on civilian populations by any species will trigger immediate coalition military response. Not meetings. Not debates. Immediate action. Second, the Mutual Defense Pact is mandatory. If one member is attacked, all members respond. No exceptions. No political calculations. Third, species that commit genocide will be dismantled. Their territory will be given to their victims. Their military will be eliminated. There is no negotiation on this. That is too extreme, multiple voices said. Is it? Taiyang asked. The Viralthic murdered 187,000 civilians. What is the appropriate response to that? A fine? A strongly worded letter? Explain to me how dismantling their empire is too extreme. No one answered. Fourth, Taiyang continued. The coalition will accept that humanity has equal standing. No attempts to limit our technology. No demands that we reduce our military. No efforts to control us because you fear us. We stay strong. You accept it. Or we leave. And if we do not accept these terms? Someone asked. Then we leave, Taiyang said. And we will build our own alliance. We will protect the species you ignore. We will enforce the rules you write but do not follow. We will be what the coalition should have been. He walked out. The chamber erupted behind him, shouting, arguing, threatening. He did not look back. For 3 days, coalition debated. Some species were furious. They saw humanity's terms as blackmail, an attempt to seize power. They wanted humanity expelled, sanctioned. Stopped. Other species were quiet. The younger ones. The weaker ones. The ones who had been conquered before. The ones who had asked for help and received only sympathy. They read humanity's terms and saw something different. They saw protection. They saw rules that would be enforced. On the 3rd day, the vote happened. It was broadcast across the galaxy. Every species could watch. Every citizen could see. The terms passed. 78% approval. More than needed. More than expected, the old powers had lost. The younger species had voted as a bloc. They wanted change. They wanted protection. They wanted rules that meant something. Humanity had given them that option. After the vote, representatives from smaller species approached the human delegation. They thanked them. Some cried. One species had been threatened by their neighbors for decades. The coalition had done nothing. Now those neighbors would think twice. Now there were consequences. Nari accepted their thanks quietly. She did not feel victorious. She felt tired, sad, empty. They had won. The galaxy would change. But 187,000 people were still dead. No victory could bring them back. Hyanwu returned to New Pyongyang. The rebuilding had started. New buildings were rising from the ruins. Colonists were returning. Families who had evacuated were coming home. It would never be the same. Too many were gone. Too much had been lost. But it would continue. He stood at the memorial. The names were carved in black stone now. 187,000 names. It had taken weeks just to carve them all. Each one represented a life, a person. Someone who had laughed and loved and lived. Someone who was gone. At the bottom of the memorial was a phrase. Simple words. Never again for anyone. Sumin joined him. She had stayed to help rebuild. Her engineering skills were needed. She looked at the memorial for a long time. Did we do the right thing? She asked quietly. Hyunwoo thought about it. They had lied for 43 years, hidden their strength, pretended to be weak. Then they had unleashed weapons that terrified the galaxy. They had destroyed an empire, killed thousands, changed everything. I do not know, he said honestly, but I know we did something. The coalition ignored us. They let our people die. That will not happen again. Not to us. Not to anyone. Because they fear us now, Sumin said. Yes, Hyunwoo said. They fear us. Maybe that is wrong. Maybe we should have found another way. But I cannot think of what that way would be. We tried peace. We tried diplomacy. We tried following their rules. And when we needed them, they abandoned us, Hyunwoo said. We showed them what we can be when forced. What any species can be when everything else fails. We are not warriors. We are not conquerors. But we will not be victims. Not again. Across the galaxy, things changed slowly. The coalition began enforcing its own laws. When pirates attacked a colony, the response was immediate. When a species threatened its neighbors, consequences followed. The rules meant something now. Not because everyone suddenly became moral, but because everyone knew humanity was watching and humanity would act. Some species resented this. They missed the old ways. The political calculations. The freedom to act without consequences. They plotted, planned, looked for ways to restore the old order. Other species thrived. The younger ones. The weaker ones. They built alliances with humanity. They grew stronger. They had voices that mattered now.